Lecture Juan Maria Gomez Pastor, War and Security under Tomas Cipriano de Mosquera's First Presidency, 1845 to 1849. This lecture examines Juan Maria Gomez Pastor and his role during the first presidential term of Tomas Cipriano de Mosquera. It also addresses major military and political conflicts between 1845 and 1849, internal and international incidents, weaponry of New Granada during the period, Mosquera's principal allies and enemies, friendly and hostile foreign powers. All statements below are based on documented historical context. Where evidence is limited, that is stated clearly. Part 1. Who was Juan Maria Gomez Pastor? Juan Maria Gomez Pastor served as Secretary of War during the early phase of Mosquera's first administration. In 19th century New Granada, the Secretary of War was responsible for army administration, military budgets, garrisons, weapons supply, promotions, and disciplined response to rebellions and frontier threats. This was a highly important office because New Granada had weak institutions and a long history of civil conflict after independence. Military stability was essential for the survival of government. Part 2. The condition of the armed forces in 1845. When Mosquera entered office, the Republic had recently emerged from the period shaped by the War of the Supremes, fought from 1839 to 1842. That conflict had shown regional rebellions were possible. Provincial caudillos could challenge Bogota. The national army needed reorganization. Therefore, Gomez Pastor's ministry likely focused on consolidation of central control, reduction of factional military influence, maintenance of readiness, cost control in a poor state. Part 3. Major internal conflicts, 1845 to 1849. There was no full national civil war during 1845 to 1849 comparable to the War of the Supremes. That itself was significant. The Mosquera administration maintained relative national peace. However, there were persistent internal security concerns, regional unrest, smuggling networks, banditry on trade routes, local political disturbances, armed factional tensions before elections. In provinces far from Bogota, state authority was uneven. Thus, the War Ministry's role often involved prevention rather than major battlefield campaigns. Part 4. Panama and transit security. One of the most strategically sensitive regions was Panama. During these years, global traffic across the isthmus increased. That created risks, theft, disorder, foreign interference, pressure from outside powers. After the Mallarino-Bidlack Treaty of 1846, Panama became even more important. The state needed to secure transit routes and preserve nominal sovereignty. This was partly a military and police question. Part 5. International incidents. There was no declared major foreign war involving New Granada during Mosquera's first term. However, several strategic tensions existed. First, British influence in the Caribbean and Central America worried many Spanish-American governments. Britain had naval power and regional commercial reach. Second, the United States was expanding rapidly. Its growing interest in Panama created diplomatic pressure. Third, border uncertainty with Ecuador and Venezuela remained a long-term issue, though not a major war in 1845 to 1849. Thus, the Republic faced geopolitical pressure even without open war. Part 6. What weapons did New Granada have? The armed forces of New Granada in the 1840s relied mainly on post-independence era weaponry. This included infantry weapons, flintlock muskets with some percussion cap conversions, smoothbore muskets, limited numbers of rifles, sidearms, sabers, cavalry, swords, pistols, artillery, bronze and iron cannons from earlier decades, light field artillery pieces, fortress guns in key ports such as Cartagena and Panama, cavalry equipment, lances in some regional forces, carbines, sabers. Military supply was inconsistent. Many units used older arms, mixed calibers, and imported equipment from different sources. Standardization was limited. Part 7. Size and quality of the army. The National Army was relatively small by European standards. It was designed more for internal order, counterinsurgency, regional deterrence than for large international war. The greatest military danger usually came from internal rebellion, not foreign invasion. Mosquera's main allies inside New Granada. Mosquera's first presidency depended on coalition support. His principal allies included Pedro Alcántara Herrén, former president, senior military figure, family connection through marriage ties, Rufino Cuervo; Y. Barreto, vice president, conservative civilian administrator, source of constitutional balance, Florentino González, key architect of economic modernization, regional commercial elites, especially sectors benefiting from trade reform and exports. Part 9. Mosquera's main domestic enemies. He did not face one single unified enemy. Instead, he faced multiple critics. First, protectionist artisans, especially in Bogota, angered by imports and tariff changes. Second, regional politicians suspicious of central power. Third, hardline conservatives who distrusted Mosquera personally. Fourth, some church sectors increasingly concerned by liberal tendencies, though the major church conflict came later. Fifth, personal rivals within elite politics who hoped to replace him. Part 10. Foreign friends and adversaries. Friendly or useful relations. United States important commercial partner after the 1846 treaty, strategic transit partner in Panama, United Kingdom, major trade power, commercial influence in Caribbean markets. Potential adversarial pressures. United Kingdom at times because British strategic influence could conflict with local sovereignty. United States also became a long-term sovereignty concern despite cooperation. Neighboring republics such as Ecuador and Venezuela were not active wartime enemies in this term, but border disputes remained unresolved legacies. Part 11. Gómez Pastor's practical role. Because there was no major external war, Gómez Pastor's success should be measured by what did not happen. During these years, no nationwide military collapse, no successful large rebellion, no foreign invasion, no breakdown of state authority. That suggests competent, if not dramatic, administration. His ministry likely focused on garrison supply, personnel management, quiet deterrence, internal stability. Part 12. Historical significance. The War Ministry under Gómez Pastor operated in a fragile republic with little money, difficult geography, and many political factions. Its task was to prevent crises while Mosquera pursued economic reform, diplomatic initiatives, administrative modernization. Final reflection. The greatest threats to New Granada during 1845 to 1849 were not large foreign armies. They were internal fragmentation, weak infrastructure, political rivalry, strategic vulnerability. In Panama, Juan Maria Gómez Pastor's importance lies in helping manage those risks during a relatively stable phase of Mosquera's first presidency. Second section of lecture. Lecture Juan Maria Gómez Pastor, corrected and expanded biography, family background and role under Tomas Cipriano de Mosquera. This lecture expands the earlier section on Juan Maria Gómez Pastor and focuses on the factual historical record. It addresses birth and place of origin, parents and ancestry, marriage and children education, military and political career relationship with Tomas Cipriano de Mosquera, whether they served together in the army where documentation is incomplete or uncertain, that is clearly stated. Part 1. Limits of the historical record. Before beginning, an important note. Juan Maria Gómez Pastor was a significant 19th century public official, but he did not leave the same documentary footprint as presidents such as Mosquera. Because of that, basic office holding is easier to verify than intimate biography. Some genealogical details are fragmentary, full modern biographies are scarce for that reason. Only information with support should be stated confidently. Part 2. Identity and public role. Juan Maria Gómez Pastor is documented as serving as Secretary of War during the first administration of Tomas Cipriano de Mosquera in the mid-1840s. That position placed him in charge of military administration, army organization, supply and arsenals, promotions, and discipline, internal security readiness. Part 3. Birth, place, and parents. At present, I do not have sufficiently verified archival evidence to state with confidence. Exact date of birth, exact birthplace, confirmed names of both parents, some scattered references suggest he belonged to a respected New Granadan family of the educated class, likely with Spanish colonial ancestry, but the currently accessible record is not strong enough to present this as fact. Therefore, the correct answer is his precise birth and parentage require deeper archival consultation in Colombian notarial, parish, or genealogical records. Part 4. Ancestry. The surnames Gomez and Pastor are Iberian surnames found in Spanish colonial society. This suggests probable Hispanic colonial ancestry, which was common among state officials of the era. However, without direct family records, no more specific ancestry claim should be made. Part 5. Wife and children. At present, I do not have enough verified published evidence to identify with confidence his wife's full name, number of children, descendant line. This does not mean such records do not exist. It means they are not sufficiently confirmed in the presently available public historical summaries. The responsible answer is uncertainty. Part 6. Education. Although specific university records are not presently confirmed in accessible summaries, men appointed Secretary of War in New Granada commonly came from one or more of these backgrounds. Military academy or practical military service, legal training, administrative experience, elite collegiate education in Bogota, Popayan, or provincial centers. Because Gomez Pastor reached cabinet rank, he almost certainly possessed literacy, numeracy, and administrative competence above the ordinary level of the time. But without direct records, the exact institution should not be invented. Part 7. Military career. His appointment to the War Ministry strongly suggests prior experience in military administration, army command, or both. In the 1830s and 1840s, cabinet war officials were often selected from men with independence-era military experience, Civil War experience connections to officer networks, proven loyalty to the government. Part 8. How did he know Mosquera? The most historically plausible and evidence-based answer is through elite military political networks. Mosquera himself was general officer, former military commander, national political figure, member of the Popayan elite. A war secretary appointed by him would usually be known through prior government service, military circles, political alliance networks, personal reputation. Part 9. Did Gomez Pastor and Mosquera serve together in the army? There is no presently verified public source that clearly documents a specific campaign in which both men served side by side in the field. However, because Mosquera's generation was deeply tied to military affairs, and because Gomez Pastor later held the war portfolio, some prior overlap in officer or administrative networks is likely, but likely is not proof. Therefore, no confirmed specific joint campaign can be stated from the presently verified record. Part 10. Why Mosquera may have chosen him. Mosquera needed a war secretary who could manage a fragile republic after years of conflict. That required someone trusted to handle garrisons, budget limits, provincial commanders, prevention of rebellion, institutional loyalty. Gomez Pastor's appointment implies confidence in his competence and political reliability. Part 11. His role during Mosquera's first term. Because no major foreign war occurred, Gomez Pastor's importance was administrative rather than theatrical. He likely dealt with maintaining army readiness, monitoring provincial disturbances, securing Panama and Caribbean interests, managing promotions and patronage inside the army, preventing renewed civil conflict. Part 12. Historical significance. Many 19th century officials are remembered only when they lead revolutions that can obscure the importance of administrators who prevented them. Juan Maria Gomez Pastor belongs to that category. He served in a ministry essential to state survival during a comparatively stable period. Part 13. What deeper research would require. To learn more with certainty, the best sources would be Archivo General de la Nación de Colombia, military service rolls, parish baptism, and marriage registers, probate records, 19th century Bogota newspapers, cabinet decrees signed during Mosquera's administration. These may contain fuller details on family and career. Final reflection. What can be stated responsibly is this. Juan Maria Gomez Pastor was a trusted cabinet official who oversaw war administration under Mosquera during a critical phase of state consolidation. He was likely a member of the educated and connected governing class. He probably knew Mosquera through military and political networks. but many personal details remain insufficiently verified in commonly accessible sources and should not be fabricated. End of lecture.